Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here, and welcome to another video. So this is actually going to be a test hand video for the Tri-Brigade Lyrilusc deck, and I was initially going to be actually doing 100 different test hands, but I quickly realized through doing this that there's a fair amount of diminishing returns on how much you can actually learn by just sitting down and doing things in a vacuum. So I would recommend, of course, just play testing against real opponents in actual games to get the most out of testing, but I still figure that you guys want to, get the most value and effectiveness out of learning from this video. So we're just going to be doing 20 test hands in this one. I think that's a pretty good length and enough for you guys to kind of just get the general gist of this deck. So the first 10 hands are going to be in a game 1 scenario, and then the next 10 will be post-side when you bring things like Imperial Order and Tri-Brigade Oath if you're not maining it, those kinds of cards. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started without any further ado. So yeah, basically I have 2 replays, one for each half of the video, and I'm going to kind of just be walking through these. I'm going to just let the replays run, and I'll click next play, of course, when appropriate. But yeah, right away you can actually see some changes I made to the list. I'm playing Apex Avian in the main deck right here. So yeah, my list obviously changes quite frequently. So if you do want an updated deck list from the profile that I uploaded a couple of weeks ago, feel free to let me know. Let's make the goal 150 likes, and I will bring that deck profile to you guys. Made a lot of updates to like the defensive card lineup, as well as some changes to the extra and side deck. So that is pretty good. I think this is cool that the deck is not by any means solved yet. So that's one of the best things about a deck like this, where you have new support cards. But yeah, you can see that we opened Warbler plus Nerval, so we don't have the greatest hand since we didn't open that many birds, but we can get access to them, no problem, because we can search for our Barrow Canary off of the Recital, and then we can grab Fractal off the Nerval, which gets us into the rest of our engine, which is fine. Again, there's an alternative line to play when you open the Warbler plus Nerval, where you can just simply go straight into a Farigate, and then you can grab a search off a Nerval for a Tri-Brigade, summon that off the Farigate, and go for a more link-heavy version of that play. However, I did actually cut Harpy Conductor from this list, so that's kind of like one of the things that I had to keep in mind when going for, I guess, the more awkward hands or the like fractal focused hands specifically. But yeah, you can see that this combo line is not at all affected by that. So we're simply just going to go for a Cobalt Sparrow search into a Sapphire Swallow, and then this Recital can search either the Turquoise Warbler, which is something to kind of do if you want to end on a stronger Ensemble Robin, because you're going to bring back the Cobalt Sparrow with the Warbler, since you, of course, didn't start off with her effective special from hand or grave at the beginning of the turn. And then you get 1 extra material as well as the targeting protection. An alternative line you can do is go for the Nerval. And I guess something that I'll mention here is that I do take back some plays, which I think is to be expected in like a test hand environment. A lot better that you like try and find the optimality of sequences in this kind of setting rather than actually in game, where you find that the cost is actually just misplaying. And you definitely don't want to be doing that. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and just go for a player where if we search Nerval, we have 2 forms of follow-up, both in the Ensemble Robin adding back a Lyrilusc, as well as a Tri-Brigade follow-up in Nerval. So I think that's good because you can access Shrag as well as a Zeus play, which is a lot of ways to remove stuff from the field if your board gets wiped. But we have, of course, quite a lot of interruptions there with our defensive cards as well. So we're just going to move straight on to the next combo. You can see that we're just going to be having everything pretty much in one consolidated replay, at least for this half. And then again, we're going to go into the next half with siding. But yeah, this hand is pretty strong as well. We drew the Apex Avian again, which is obviously not great. Statistically, it's not super likely for this to happen, but it can definitely. But yeah, Warbler plus Sparrow is, of course, a super strong combo. We hard drew the Barrow Canary as well, which means that we can kind of bypass a search later on. So that kind of makes your combos a lot easier to achieve, a lot more, I guess, fluid, since you have more flexibility in the cards that you are able to search. Because we didn't start off with Fractal, the Nerval on field isn't going to get as much value, but you're going to see plenty of instances where that does come up later on. So that's not going to be a big deal. Here, we're going to go for the Sapphire Swallow into the Nerval, of course, and then we're going to go for our Recital Starling, number 2. And then that's a bit of a misclick. This should just be in defense, but shouldn't matter for test hand purposes. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and detach to grab our Wagtail as well as our Tri-Brigade kit, keeping in mind the fact that we started off with Bird Call, so our Wagtail is not going to get as much value this turn, but it will grab us follow-up for next turn, which is always nice. Down comes the Draco feature, and then we can go for our kit play. And this is pretty solid. We still want to go for Baron Boss, and we could just immediately go into our Simorg, and that's fine. But again, having a follow-up is very, very solid. A lot better to have Bird Call in hand than just a Wagtail that isn't really going to contribute a whole ton And here we draw 1 for 1, which is quite nice. I was actually experimenting with cutting this card, just because there are some hands where this is a bit awkward, but I just realized that this is one of the best kind of like starters / extenders ways to push, so it was kind of silly to cut it at in the end. Yeah, we get to put back the Apex Avion from the Farigit, which always is a good thing. And then here we can hold 1 for 1, which is probably what I would do, because there's not really a point in getting rid of the Droll when we already have our setup. Like, we can easily just end on Draco Future plus the Simorgh Link, and then a Barrow Canary into Robin, and then go for the Apex Avion in the end phase. I also did cut Rendezvous from the main deck, which is something to note as well. But here I kind of wanted to showcase what you could do if you wanted to expend literally every resource. It's not something I would recommend, but I think that you would get the gist of if we just went for Robin into the end phase, Apex Avion. So here you can 1 for 1 into Nerval if you want to just get more value and more mileage. So we can just go and banish 2, and then we can go for the DDL off the Nerval, because we didn't use the effect on field yet. We can turn Kit into Almirage. We can use Almirage to clear itself off the board because we need room for the Barrow Canary. And we just make a much bigger ensemble Robin. So the trade-off is, you commit your 1 for 1, you commit your Joe and Lockbird, and then you just end on a bigger Robin. Of course, this plays really, really hard into things like Dark Ruler and Droplet and stuff, because now you just have no defense in your hand whatsoever. So again, not one that I would recommend doing, but it is something that I thought is worth showing off in case you wanted to really just high roll things. But yeah, you can see in the notes here, I mentioned having the drill would be a lot nicer. It just depends on what you're trying to play around and what you accept losing to versus what you want to be safer around. So here's combo number 3, or test hand number 3. I gotta get used to saying test hand instead of combo. But yeah, here is, again, kind of a more, I guess, bird-centric hand, but one that forces you to commit Barrow Canary early. And these are the hands that I sort of dislike, just because I think that the link plays are pretty strong. Here I'm like, yeah, they're just misclicked. Yeah, that's all that really happened there. You could search Wagtail, and I think I make a note in that in the chat later. But this is kind of just an alternative line you could take, because what ends up happening is that sometimes you want to use like Swallow first, because like if you get hit with Nibiru, then you don't really have a good chance to use Sapphire Swallow. Whereas like if you go for Celeste Wagtail, a lot of the times you're going to want to like use your Bird Call like kind of bonus summon, if that makes sense, right? Like the extra summon off Bird Call. So this way just makes it so that you can commit Sapphire, and then if you get hit with Nibiru here, you at least have Bird Call still to kind of like back you up. Obviously, you don't have like a ton of plays to go from this position if you do get nibbed, but that's something to just kind of keep in mind in like other hands where maybe you do have an extra extender to make use of it. So that's something to kind of consider. Here we're just going to go for the Bird Call after searching the Warboar off of the second recital. And we get a follow-up Barrow Canary as well, which is not too bad. Yeah, so ultimately you end up with a pretty similar board. The trade-off is if you do go for Wagtail off the Fractal instead of the Sparrow, you do get more materials, and I believe you also get to put Cobalt Sparrow, if I remember correctly, underneath the Robin, which definitely does make a difference in the strength of your end board. I do believe you sacrifice, however, the ability to search follow-up, which is fair enough as well. Granted, Robin can get you follow-up, but against certain cards that like bounce things back, like Bashia and Sword Soul, for instance, maybe it's better to not rely entirely on Robin going to grave, because that's not always guaranteed to happen. So these are, again, all things to consider, and we have a plethora of defensive cards here. You can see I'm also testing Chalice right now, which is just a pretty strong overall card, flexible going first and second right now. And oh hey, here we go. I kind of forgot the notes that I put in here. So yeah, you can also do the combo I showed in the video, which is sending Wagtail over Sparrow, which plays a bit more into Nibiru, like I mentioned just now, but also gives you a stronger Robin play. Again, you decide what you want to play around and what you might lose to. So here is test hand number 4, and we drew Avion. Again, this is 3 out of 4 hands. And I'm pretty sure right here is where I actually noticed that it happens. But you know, what can you do? That's the reality of the situation. At minimum, you can at least see that even though you can open this card a fair amount, it's not the end of the world as long as you open your other combo pieces. I thought it was funny, though, that I sat down, I went to just do this, and I'm like, wow, I'm really just opening Avion every single hand. How is this happening? But yeah, here I'm going to do a bit of a different route, where normally I search Nerval here, which, you know, kind of is better as like a standalone card if, say, this gets ashed. Because like, if this gets ashed here, you kind of just aren't able to really extend past this point. But I want to showcase like various options, right? because there's not really a whole lot of point in showing like the same thing over and over again. I mean, because I think that you get the idea after like 1 or 2 times. But this I think is a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more interesting. So we can go for our Sapphire if, again, provided that in a vacuum this is all resolving. We can then search our Nerval here at this point, and then we get to kind of do things in a bit of a different fashion where we can hold our Nerval for the normal summon instead of going for Kit directly. And there's a lot of ways to use the Tri-Brigades if you like juggle which one you want to normal summon, which is pretty nice. So yeah, we also still have Bird Call that we haven't used yet, and that's pretty important for this kind of scenario. So yeah, we can go for our Baron Blossom. So there's a number of ways you can do this. There's like a cool play where you can actually turn your Nerval into Almirage, and then you can search the Kit there, and then you can Almirage clear itself off the board to vacate the Farid zone, and you can like Farid summon Kit, and then you can go from there. So that's something that's good to keep in mind. Here I did not opt to do that. I decided to actually just go ahead and search for Keras directly. Now this could change, of course, depending on if you're like maining the Oath and stuff, which is pretty valid. I declared the wrong thing here, but yeah, Farid should be Chainlink 1 there. I think I've resolved that correctly when I actually did it. But yeah, like these are kind of just things to think about. Like if you aren't main decking a Tri-Brigade spell or trap, you can actually just value the Keras a bit more highly, which is fair enough. So that's something to also think about as well. Yeah, this was played maybe a bit suboptimally, to be honest. Like I could have done the play that I just mentioned with the Farid. I also could have just went for a Bird Call to search and special off whatever I searched off the Farid as well. It really just depends on what you want to be ending on right here, which I think is fine. We go for the DDL, and we also have access to Canary, since again we have held the Bird Call the entire time, so that's pretty good. We get to end on a pretty decent Robin as well, and then the end phase we can get access to our Apex Avion. So that is quite good, not too bad of a showing there. I think that's like an alternative line. I don't think I would ever really do that over just kind of the standard play where you search Nerval first and then do the Wagtail thing afterward and just special that off Farid. I think that's generally better. Which felt like, again, it's like a super similar hand. Like opening Warboy Sparrow is just always what you want to be seeing pretty much. But yeah. Oh, I actually even mentioned in chat, it's not necessarily better than the standard line, but there's like a ton of different routes you can take, just depending on what you value more highly, what hand traps your opponent might have, what defensive cards you have, things like that. So this hand obviously is quite strong. But yeah, oh yeah, here's what I noticed that I drew Apex Avion on 3 out of 4 hands, which, it really do be like that sometimes. But yeah, here's another potential line. I actually kind of forget what I did here, so I guess let's watch this together. I did play this out a couple of days ago. I just didn't get around to recording this until today. So yeah, this is not entirely fresh in my mind, but I guess that's kind of cool as well from a retroactive standpoint. I get to see if I would do things a bit differently now, having stepped back from it for a couple of days. So yeah, we just go we're into Wagtail this time around. Yeah, which I mean I don't think we've shown that quite yet. And yeah, here we were able to just go into Sapphire Swallow. Again, if we get Ash and Bird Call, that is unfortunate, but we still have place to keep going because we already had the Nerval in our hand, which is fair enough. We get to trigger the Sparrow off of the Bird Call. That nets us a search for the Barrow Canary. It's always nice, again, when you get to be quote-unquote ahead by 1 search, because that gets you extra fodder if you want to enable Keras later on. And Keras is critical to the Oath combos, and we'll, of course, be showing those off in, again, the latter half of the video. So yeah, here we have enough fodder engraved for this Nerval on board because we began with Fractal, and that's why opening Fractal is considerably stronger than opening like the Bird, if depending, of course, on the situation, because like that can, of course, still lose to certain things. Like maybe in the mirror match they crow you, and that's unfortunate. So yeah, these are all things to think about. We go for the Blossom off of that, or the Farid, and I think I combo on the other side, if I remember correctly now, because I kind of messed up my zones there a little bit. But yeah, Recital number 2 goes for the Crow because I already had the Canary, and then we can go for Tri-Brigade Kip off of the Nerval, of course. We can go for Draco Future on this side. It looks so weird to me now that this is here because I'm so used to putting it on the left side, but obviously it's not a huge deal. The luxury of this, going for the Bird Call to summon out Spearow, while it does lose Hearted Ash, is that you get this Lingering Body on board, which makes your Simorgh play substantially easier to go into, so you don't have to worry about special summoning an extra bird off of the Farigate. You can just simply special the kit, or you can just normal the kit, whichever one works. So yeah, here we go for kit, and I am trying to remember if we go for a... oh, just kidding, we're going to take this back. Again, I do take back plays because it's important that we try and, again, figure out what the most optimal sequencing is. Yeah, so we go and resolve our Farigate. Nothing like super important there. Yeah, now we normal our kit. The order there, I guess, didn't matter a ton in the end, but it could have changed how we did things if we like randomly drew like a Keras or something. Yeah, here we go, and we can make our Almirage, and then we can go and activate our Barrow Canary. Pretty solid stuff. So yeah, we can just fast forward a little bit here. We can go for a Robin, and then we can go into the end phase. You could, in fact, like, you can manipulate the Almirage here. Like, you can just use the effect so you can put the Apex Avian in the Simorgh zone that it points to protect it from targeting, which is reasonable. There's actually not like a ton of targeting removal effects right now. Like, there's some, but like the things that you're primarily scared of are like Dark Ruler and Droplet, even like Tactics Take, and like Evenly Matched and stuff. So like none of those target, of course. Mystic Mine as well. So yeah, in the end, like the target protection, of course, is nice, but it's like not needed. It like helps against maybe like a Chalice or like a top decked Imperm. So these are things to, I guess, consider. But yeah, you have like all the setup with the Imperm plus DD crit to back you up, which is always nice as a supplementary. And that's kind of like the goal in trying to make sure that your list has enough defenses, because if you do get your board broken, you want to be able to recover. Now this hand is a little bit weird. So like, again, opening Bird Call with like just by itself and no other birds is not really what you want to be seeing with this, but it does happen. So we're going to go for an interesting play here. We're going to go straight up kit into Almirage to send Nerve Ball to add Keras, and then we're going to go ahead and activate the... Oh yeah, we go for Fractal here. Again, I'm trying to remember what I'm doing specifically. But yeah, we can go Canary Fractal, and that's pretty good as well. We could have searched Keras, because we could have easily just pitched whatever we search out Bird Call for Keras again if we wanted to go for more of a link-focused line, ending on Simorgh specifically, but because, again, I cut Harping Conductor, that's not really happening. And so, yeah, we're just going to do this instead, where we go and send our Cobalt Sparrow, we grab Barrow Canary, and then we can just proceed from here. Sending Wagtail doesn't really do us a lot because we have to use our Bird Call in the first place. Again, another demonstration of how Bird Call is not the same as the target that it tries to search. And that's like one theme that I cannot stress enough. Literally... Yeah, so because we started with Bird Call, right, we lose on the extra body because it does come up here where Bird Call special summoning a monster from your hand gets you enough material to end on both the Draco Future and Ensemble Robin. So this is definitely a weak hand. Whereas if we just hard open Barrow Canary, that would have made this much easier to do. So yeah, again, another example how Bird Call is not the same as hard drawing the search target. This is like one theme that I cannot stress enough, that if you want to play this deck, this is something that you need to keep in mind, is that your management of Bird Call definitely matters a lot. And here you can search Warbler off this recital if you wanted to, just to be able to put the Cobalt Sparrow, kind of similar to, I believe, test hand number 1, which is valid. Or you could just be like me if you wanted to do it this way, and you could go for the Robin because your board is not super strong as is, so you might as well just try and get some mileage out of it. To be fair, you're actually not going to get another material off the Robin now that I think about it. So this comment's actually a bit incorrect here, because you would go Sapphire plus Warbler into Cobalt Sparrow. You still get the Sparrow protection, which is good, but you don't have an extra material to attach when you apply the Sapphire Swallow to your Xyz monster. So yeah, you're still ending on 3 materials regardless, because we don't have Wagtail Engrave or anything else like that. So I do like having more Tri-Follow-Up. It's just good to guarantee that you're able to at least play if your board does get outed. I mean, we have a lot of defensives here, but it definitely is nice to have the extra safety net when you open weaker hands. And that's something that I tend to do a lot just as a habit. Like, if I open weaker, I try and prioritize follow-up more than, like, ending on, like, interruptions, but doing it in such an awkward way that it kind of relinquishes your follow-up plays. Because there's no guarantee that even when you open full combo that you're going to have that stick, just because so many people are main decking stuff like Droplet right now. So yes. All right. Here's number 7 right here. Again, another example of a hand where open bear call is the only Lyrilusc axis. And here's maybe a case where you like can justify opening more or play more Lyriluscs, because I've seen a lot of different builds that are playing more copies of Cobalt Sparrow and like Barrow Canary and like even Sapphire Swallow, which I think is justifiable if you really want to just hard focus in on the bird engine, which is valid enough. But there are also times where the birds can clog if you don't open the right combination of them. You can think of things again like Cobalt Sparrow plus Wagtail, and then things like Sapphire Swallow if you don't open like very particularly. Here's like, yeah, these are some weird hands, but they're not by any means unplayable. Also, Dueling Book was extremely laggy right here, but thankfully I didn't have to like restart this because that is not what I wanted to do. So yeah, thankfully we opened Crow as kind of an engine piece right here, so that does open up the play a little bit. So here I'm like kind of preemptively saying it might cause, or I might have to like rewind a bit to see if this is like the best play, but I'm pretty sure I get it. Or I'm satisfied with the first attempt or the first crack at this. Yeah, so we're gonna grab Nerval and we're gonna immediately just pitch it for Kara since we already committed to our normal summon with the DD Crow right there, and then we can just grab ourselves a search off the Nerval. We can grab our Fractal, and then we can go and summon out the Farigit. We can Farigit to summon out Fractal from hand. And then here you can do a number of things. You can go for either Appaloosa plus double Dragon Lords if you just link away all these 3 for Appaloosa, and then go for DDO right here. There's a couple of like awkward bodies you do the other way, which is Simorg with just the Recital plus the Baron Blossom, because like your Karissa stays on board. But I do think that if you do Appaloosa plus DDO, you don't have really much follow-up. And Simorg's never guaranteed to be follow-up, but if it does stick, then it's nice. So that is something to kind of think about. We're going to go Baron Blossom just to see. We draw a call by, which is pretty decent. You can keep that, or you can keep the Droplet, which is fine as well. Here you can also just end on Appaloosa Simorg, which is like a third option. So yeah, here kind of like talk a little bit about like the potential math of like opening Canary, because if we had Canary or drawing Canary off the Farigit, we could actually send the Fractal from field to send a bird, and that kind of gets us more into our bird plays. So that does happen, or that is a potential factor to keep in mind. But yeah, that hand was certainly not the greatest, but there were a number of different ways you could have played that one out. So I think that's like fair enough. Again, like Appaloosa Simorg into Avian, or you can go like Simorg DDL into Avian. That's fine too. So yeah, here's another hand. We draw Avian again. So this is like, how many hands is this? 4 out of 8. Yeah, this Avian is just my best friend. Half of the hands are opening with this card, which statistically should not happen because it should just be a 12.5% chance to open this card. But sometimes 12.5%, 50%. What's the real difference right there? Okay, so yeah, here we have Bird Call and we have Fractal, which is pretty good. It loses a lot harder to troll. Again, another reason why opening this card is not always the greatest, but we still are able to make this work in a kind of vacuum scenario. So this is again just the Werewolf Fractal combo, bearing in mind the fact that we burned through Bird Call already, which is not the end of the world. It's fortunate that when the hands that we open Apex Avian we're already able to play for the most part, but I just think that's kind of funny to note. Yeah, here I made the mistake of detaching the raw material, because you should be detaching Warbler if you want to activate Nerval on the field when you open Fractal, which in a lot of cases you do, because keeping this engraved is more valuable than keeping Warbler engraved, like 95% of the time. So that is kind of just what you want to be prioritizing there. We are going to go for the Sapphire Swallow here, of course. This is nothing that you haven't seen already. Pretty stable. Here I put the Farigit in this zone, so I can actually put the UDF on the left side like I'm accustomed to doing. And yeah, we can just kind of proceed from here. We get Canary and we get our search for our kits here. And then we can go Farigit to special summon the Wagtail. You've seen this already. And this is what I mean by, as I was doing this, I'm like, wow, actually, there's not really a lot of point in going through 100 hands of this, because like there's obviously different variations like I showed in, I think it was test hand number, I want to say 4. I can't actually remember off the top of my head. But yeah, like there's variations you can do, but at the end of the day, like if you're assuming your opponent doesn't have any disruptions for you, then well, the hands play themselves pretty fluidly if you know what you're doing, and you know what you're trying to end on, and if you open, of course, the right combo pieces to play. The only thing that is worth showcasing off is the more awkward hands. I feel like we've gotten through a fair number of them already in this sample size alone. Yeah, here comes Farigate. We can put back this pesky Avian that just keeps showing up in our hand. And we draw Imperm off of it, which is nice too. Here we can go for our kit as well. We can go and summon out double Dragon Lords. I think I made the mistake of not sending... Oh, no, I don't make the mistake of sending kit. I actually leave it here on purpose. Oh, past me is smarter than present me, apparently. But yeah, anyways, we can go for our big Robin, just skipping some steps there. Yeah, what you could do is that if you're not playing the Tri-Brigade spell traps like Oath or Rendezvous, keeping kit on board is actually not too bad. You can choose, of course, just go into Mirage as like a safety net against maybe like Lightning Storm or like, things that just pop cards, like maybe like Break Swords. But this is pretty handy as well because when you send it away, of course, for DDL, you get follow-up kind of more guaranteed, which is nice because, again, Robin plus Simorg are not guaranteed to be follow-ups, but the spare bird call that you searched, as well as this kit, should be enough to get you there, even if you get your board entirely cracked. Plus, you have Imperm Nib if they manage to stop you with a Swift Dark Ruler. Oh yeah, I think I like messed up summoning Wagtail after resolving Farigate, but yeah, I was kind of speeding through this, I'm pretty sure at this point. So here we open another pretty interesting hand. This is like a pretty 1-for-1 forward hand because we can't really do anything else unless if we want to like normal summon Nerval, go Almirage, and then proceed from there. But that's obviously not as ideal as just going for 1-for-1. So yeah, 1-for-1 of course is quite good, and that's why I decided to keep it around. Even though there are some hands where it's frustrating when like you lose out to like Ash and then the rest of your hand is not really super strong. Because like this card like hard loses to Ash a lot of the time, but Ash is like, I'm not gonna say it's getting less popular, but some people are just choosing to forego hand traps completely. So that's like another argument to like keep this card around. But it's 1-for-1. I think there's not really a whole ton to say about it. Yeah, here we go, and we search another Nerval off the Cobalt Sparrow initially. And then we grabbed ourselves a Karos off the Nerval that we pitched for the 1-for-1. This allows us to kind of go into a very familiar play where we just go Utah Draco Future, and then we preserve our normal summon in the process. Here we could have searched Kit as well. It doesn't really matter too much, but we do have to keep in mind the fact that we did normal summon already. So that is something to kind of consider. But yeah, we can go for Draco Future here after searching the Warbler, and we didn't begin with Bird Call, so we have Warbler still as like an extra extender in that respect. Because like this is like similar setup to opening Warbler plus like say a Sparrow, but you just do Warbler at this point instead. So yeah, here we can also pitch the Barrow Canary. If we wanted to go for like the similar play into just Robin like this. So we didn't actually like need the Barrow Canary because we already had a good enough setup for it, which I think is also pretty valid. We could have also like turned these two into like Farigate, and like Farigate summon out the Karos from hand and then keep the Barrow Canary, so we can like make the Ensemble Robin this way, and that's also valid. Just because like if you want to play around like tactics on your Robin, that's something to consider there as well. Yeah. You can make like a huge Robin if you just didn't want to use Karos entirely. Like you could have done like Barrow Canary just straight up, and that would have had 6 materials, which is pretty nice. But yeah, there like I made a small note about keeping Canary engraved just to make sure that it's a good target to add back off of Robin if it gets cleared. And here is the final hand for this segment of the video. We're gonna go and pretty much do the same thing as we did in the first hand. Like this is Warbler plus Nerval. I believe we started with Bird Call as well initially. So yeah, there was a little misclick there, but yeah, you kind of get the idea. We can speed through this one. It's Fractal, gonna be setting the Cobalt Sparrow because we already went through the Bird Call. Then we can just go for the rest of our bird plays. Again, right here, like if you get Nibiru'd, like on just like a Sapphire, that's not really helpful, especially for follow-up. And also, I like brain farted there and I accidentally went for UDF before activating Sapphire Swallow. I don't know what I was thinking there. I guess I was just tired, but yeah. Make sure that you don't do that. Yeah, we're gonna go for Robin here, of course, and then we're just gonna sit in Chalice. Not like ideal, but it does get the job done, which is like fair enough. So yeah, we can move on into this little replay right here, which is going to be kind of a continuation of that, but just keeping in mind that we're gonna have things like Oath and stuff. So here I just like took a quick moment to decide. I could have done that in the first replay now that I think about it. I don't know why I switched over to this. But yeah, here we are. So we're just gonna proceed from here, and we open up actually pretty decently. It doesn't look great. It looks like again just like Warbler plus Nerval, but we can special off the Canary or special out the Canary off the Warbler, which it's not the same as like going for a Sparrow, obviously, but because we're like ahead by a search since we hard drew the Nerval, and we already have a spare second Canary, we can afford to do it this way because it just makes it so that we can preserve our normal summon, which is pretty critical in a lot of cases. I don't know why I keep declaring effects that I can't activate, but anyways, we're going to go Warbler into Canary into the Recital Starling. And if you made it through this part of the video, first off, thank you, you are a real one. But second off, I think partway through one of these, I go back and I like take a lot of things back. So just be prepared for the fact that there's going to be a lot of like potential takebacks because the Oath combo lines are definitely less straightforward. You have to be pretty sharp on how you're managing specific resources. And if I remember correctly, I think we managed to end on Oath being live in 8 out of these 10 hands, which is fairly consistent considering how like high roll I initially thought Oath was. I thought Oath was just like, oh, it's an option if you like open really well, but you actually get to it fairly frequently. But you can see we went for a Sapphire Swallow off of the first recital, and we used it to bring out Nerval. And this is just going to bring us a copy of Cobalt Sparrow since we're going to access Farid later down the line pretty soon here. We're going to grab Kit off of this copy of the Nerval, and then we're going to go for Draco Future. And then here we're going to go for Kit, and then we're actually going to deviate, of course, because we're going for our our Oath plays. We do want to make sure that we have Omen in circulation because that gets us to our Keras if we don't open it, or if we don't open Kit. Because if we open a Kit, we can use the Nerval to, of course, just search the Keras straight up, which is pretty decent. But yeah, we're going to go for both effects in the graveyard here, so we can send Oath and add Keras here. And then we can use the Barren Blossom to bring out the Cobalt Sparrow, and that gets another search. And this is just what we're going to pitch for the Keras. Getting into the grave is not too bad, just because it's more fodder for later, which is good. Yeah, so we can go for our Simorg, we can go for the Farid, we draw Nibiru, of course, so it's going to put one back. We get to go for our Keras here, and then we can banish Chu for DDL, and then we can go for Barrow Canary. Here you can opt to actually bring back the Celeste Wagtail if you wanted to, instead of the Cobalt Sparrow, because that gets you an extra follow-up in the form of a Bird Call, and that is quite useful. And we didn't even start off with Bird Call, so you can just activate it if you wanted. But yeah, this gets like more materials under the Robin as well. Kind of again just depends on what you value more highly. If I were to do this again, I think I would actually value the follow-up a bit more, because if we're assuming this is a sided game, then like your opponent could just stack up like multiple blowout go second cards, and that is obviously not the most fun thing to deal with. Okay, you see that even though that hand was like not Warbler Sparrow or Warbler Wagtail or Warbler Fractal, it still was able to use the spare birds in hand. Like really, if you open up a critical like amount of just combo pieces that you're trying to natively search in your combo anyways, you'll be in good shape to just end on the Oath combo, which is something that I kind of discovered in this session of test hands. So here, this is like just Warbler Wagtail, so that naturally gets you into the Oath play anyways. So this one is pretty straightforward. We can kind of speed through this one. We're going to go and search our Bird Call. We go for recital number 1, that searches the Sparrow. And here, actually, it's nice that we can actually do this without fear of Ash because we already hard drew the Swallow. And this is like a hand where opening Swallow is nice, where we open like a lot of the birds, but you don't always get the luxury of having that, but that is something to bear in mind. Off of this Sparrow, we're going to grab ourselves Nerval, which we're going to summon off of this copy of Sapphire Swallow here. This is some classic DB stuff. We're going to go into Recital here, and then we're just going to grab our second Barrow Canary. Really could have just been any bird since we were so far ahead that we even had the DD crew already. Plus, I'm pretty sure we had either Keras or Kit to start with. What did we just search here? We searched Kit. Yes, we opened off Keras already. So that actually skips a step in that we don't have to burn through the Omen, which is pretty nice. And I'm actually still like back and forth on like if I want to do or play 2 Shrag in the extra deck, or if I want to do Shrag plus Appaloosa. Like I kind of switch back and forth quite a lot. You'll see here that I'm actually on Rugal now, which is like the change that I made for Harpy Conductor. And I believe it comes up in a number of these test hands. Also, yeah, the zone placement is really, really bad here. Because like if you do this configuration where you have Draco Future on the left side, you want your Chaos to be right here. Because naturally you're going to have DDL, DDL, Apex, and the Robin under the 3 Simorg arrows. And those are the best ones to have there. So yeah, this needs to be there ahead of time. Just be sure to take note of that. I was just not very good at playing my zones there. But that is a lesson to be learned right here. You could go for Almirage, but yeah, you kind of do clog up your zones a bit. Like you could just use Almirage effect, but that's not really super necessary. So this is fine. We can go and trigger off our effects right here. So yeah, we grab Warbler. We can go ahead and send Oath here. I mean, this card could be anything. It doesn't really affect our combo at this point. We have DDL for our Keras, and then our Canary gets us into our good old Ensemble Robin. And then end phase, we get access to Avian. So we're 2 for 2 on Oath being live here, which is great. We have DD Crow as well. You'll notice that there's like less defensive cards in these hands. So we just have to hope that the Oath does get us there, which in a lot of cases it does. But, you know, it's kind of scary in decks that can play stuff like Pod Prosperity. That can like dig for just more blowouts, which is, you know, not the greatest. But yeah, here's a hand that is pretty interesting. And I thought this hand was like bad when I looked at it initially, but this hand's actually really, really crazy. So it took me a little bit of a while to actually think about what I want to do here. But yeah, so the goal is to still try and end up with Oath, which is why I'm normal summoning the Nerval over the Kit. Because I don't want to burn Kit to send Nerval when I already have a Nerval. So we're going to grab Kara. So we actually already have the entire Tri-Brigade portion of this combo available to us. Now we just have to get into our birds, which is fairly straightforward. Just going to pitch to special Keras. We get to send Oath off of this kit here. And then we have 2 Tri-Beasts engraved to get into Farid, which gets us completely started on our bird package. So this hand, while it's not a common hand that you open because kit's a 1 of, and then like these are typically not both 3 ofs, right? But it's nice that like even in hands that are not like the standard Warbler plus whatever, you still are able to just make things work pretty effectively. So yeah, here we need Almirage to get off the board here so we can put Simorg in the EMZ, which is what we want to be doing, of course, for targeting protection purposes. And then we can go ahead and just proceed from here. Now, I draw into Barrel Canary, which is interesting, and I'm debating on just like putting back the Nibiru here. I think I just decided against it because I just want us to see if we can get access to Canary anyways, which we should be able to, and keep the Nibiru for, again, if we do get our board broken, even through Oath setup. So here we have Sapphire Swallow. I can afford to actually bring out the Cobalt with the Bird Call because we're going to grab another Search, which enables the Sapphire to be live anyways. So we get another copy of Nerval here, and we have not used the Nerval on field. And I think I make a bit of a mistake here. Yeah, we end up going back on this one because what I end up wanting to do is like, oh, I want to go ahead and Recital to search for Canary here, and then we can go like Nerval effect on field to summon out DDL, and then we can Canary into Robin, and we'll be good. But if you notice, if we put DDL into one of these zones, say the middle one, we actually can't resolve Canary because we don't have enough spots, and that's something that I actually realized right here. So that's what I like do until I realize, wait a second, something is not right here because my zones are going to be clogged. So we're just going to rewind this a bit. This is not even the replay where I rewind the most. I rewind like 3 or 4 times in one of the other ones. But yeah, what we do is actually we're just going to go for the Oath straight up. And then we can just skip the Recital and go for Robin, because we end on what we want to end on anyways. It's weird to not go through Barrel Canary or a single copy of Recital. Like, we didn't go through any Recitals at all turn 1 here. But, I mean, that's, like, we were able to still end on this, which is fine enough, right? So, yeah, I think that is pretty good here. We still have Oath live. We have, like, the disruptions. We just don't have Draco Future on the board, which can be a bit of a hindrance, but we didn't open a lot of the birds, which is why like going for that was a bit more awkward, and we wanted to keep this Keras on the board simply because, you know, it's the beast that we need for Oath to be live. So the order of operations, of course, can affect what you can go for because, as you see, the board can sometimes get a bit occupied very, very quickly. And I am pretty sure that that could have been done more optimally, by the way. So if you have like an alternative line, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for constructive feedback in making sure that the combos are as fluid and efficient as possible. Here we have a hand where we draw the best card in the game, and not a whole lot else in the bird department. it seems like so often that we just draw a bird call with no other birds. That's like really, really fascinating. But yeah, here's number 14, and we're just gonna go for Warbler plus Sparrow. I mean, it's fine. Like, I say no other birds, but we had Fractal. But yeah, I don't know why I said no other birds, because Fractal is effectively a bird in this scenario. But yeah, we already have Nerval, so we can just search Swallow right here. We can go for Barrow Canary, and we open Fractal, so we have the luxury of using Nerval if we want to. And in a lot of cases, like for the Oath lines, I wasn't using Nerval here because I just wanted to keep more fodder in grave for Kit to banish 4, like what you saw in, I believe, like the first test hand here of this like half, which is number 11 in the video. But yeah, there's actually a way you can make this work. So we're gonna go for the Farigit like we did previously, like kind of in the first half, to just end on like a more modest like Robin plus Avian setup. But yeah, here we're going to go for our Wagtail since we haven't gone through it yet. We grab Kit here. And then we're going to go for Draco Future, of course. And then this Blossom is going to summon out the Wagtail. And then Wagtail gets to search. This probably shouldn't be in this zone. Should be like over here. But yeah, I'm going to grab Bird Call, which we started off with. So I'm not going to get extra value there. But it's fine because we have Canary. Oh, just kidding. All right, I guess I decided that wasn't right. You could tell that I did this a couple days ago. So we're going to summon out Kit instead. Let's see why we do this. Okay, so we want to do this because I'm going to go for Rugal into Omen. I'm going to Kit send Oath, and then I'm going to go for the Simorg with the Omen plus Blossom. That gets us Karas access. We can pitch the Wagtail off of the Karas, and then we can go for DDL, and then we can Canary to bring back. We can even back Wagtail if we want to follow up there. And that should be all fine and dandy. I think that's what we do. So yeah, actually, I don't think we normal summoned at all yet, did we? We haven't, so we can actually not even like pitch for the Karas. We just like normal summon the Karas, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we go for Rugal, we go into Omen, and then we go Kit, and yeah, that's where like it mattered that we have the Rugal here, because we had exactly 3 in graveyard at that time. And then, yeah, so here we're just going to go, into the Simorg, and then we go for Farigit as well as the what's it called? The Shrike. And then we're going to draw into Omen out the Farigit, and we put back the Fractal. Oh, yeah, so what I was trying to do was I was trying to add Bird Call before resolving Farigit since I have IO here, but we already went through Bird Call, so that's kind of just a moot point. Yeah, so I actually don't think I realized when I was typing this comment that I started off with Bird Call, so that actually doesn't matter at all. But yeah, here, I'm pretty sure we could have just normal summoned this Karas, funnily enough, because I'm fairly certain we just didn't normal summon this entire time. Yeah, so we can go for our DDL here, and then we can go for Barrow Canary, and then, yeah, we can bring back the Wagtail, since we already banished a lot of our birds. But that's fine. I mean, we have follow-up here, and like 2 bounces with Joel IO, like, that is very, very much fine. So we have IO for like, all the big stuff. Like if they have like a combo of like a spell into a droplet, and like I bite with the IO on the spell, we can like negate the droplet with the Oath. We can like use this on like evenly, for example, which is nice. So yeah, this was pretty solid, all things considered. So yeah, Oath has been alive in all 4 of these hands so far, which is great. And so yeah, again, I think I mentioned before, but I'm fairly certain that it was 8 out of these 10 hands that that Oath was alive eventually. And this is another very crazy hand. Obviously horrible going second, but this is a sided scenario where we sided out a fair amount of go second cards anyways, which is fine. And that was kind of ridiculous. That hand was pretty crazy. This is like a pretty similar hand. We're gonna go for this instead of Wagtail, just because like that does tend to be a little bit more conservative in that like you're not like making it's that Bird Call is a huge major choke point, and like you can play a little bit more comfortably around Droll, stuff like that. So here we have Sapphire plus Nerval. We opened one of these names already, so we're ahead by 1 search, and then we can go and banish 2. We can go for Farigit, kind of same stuff as last time, so we can speed through this a little bit faster. Just keeping in mind the fact that we haven't used Bird Call yet, and that's like the only major difference. Grabbing Kit off of the Nerval there, and then we're going to go for UDF. We're going to Tanky for Fractal just before we resolve this Farigit. And we can Farigit to summon out the Wagtail, which grabs ourselves a Bird Call. The only thing is that like we're not getting access to Deity Crow, but I mean, that's a bit of a luxury at this point. So yeah, zones can clog here. I could just link away everything into the Simorgh here, and I think I end up just normal summoning the kit so I can go into Omrush to vacate that zone. Or actually, I'm pretty sure I backtrack here. Let's actually see what I end up doing. So going for... Okay, so yeah, we could have done the play that we just did previously, which was like Rugal into Shurag, and that's honestly a lot cleaner because we could have just easily linked with like the Wagtail that I had on the board there, just as like a way to get follow-up. But yeah, I could have like linked those three, being the Omen plus the Farigate plus the Wagtail on the board into the Simorgh, and that would have like gotten the kit off the board a bit more freely. I mean, this works too. It's just a little bit less elegant, I feel. Oh, wow, I actually literally said that. Okay, so yeah, gonna go for Rugal plus Kit. So yeah, we can go and search, not Rugal, sorry, Omen plus Kit. So we can send Oath and then search for Keras here. And then we can go and pitch the special. Right, yeah, this does, yeah, I remember I backtracked right here because we end up not having the zones for Canary against Resolve because we have too much, yeah. So skipping all of that, we're just going to go and do the play that I literally just highlighted. So if you were confused about that, here you go. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and banish the 3 for Rugal, and then go for the Omen here. We get to trigger the kit, and then we send Oath. And this way we don't have to like burn a second Farigate for literally no reason, which is good. We go and link 3, like, because it's 2+ monsters, so we can use all 3 of them, treating the Farigate as link 1, of course, and then we can go and access the Keras this way, and this is a lot better. Yeah, I think we drew foolish out the previous Farigate. Obviously, we put that back because we don't really need it at this point. But hey, if we have the luxury of drawing into Joel, that's quite nice. But yeah, gonna go and do the Keras right here. We could also go for a bigger Robin because I'm pretty certain we didn't use Bird Call yet. So yeah, we can activate Bird Call, or we can like use Fractal to pitch, or to pitch itself to send one. Either option works. Here I'm just going to go for the Sparrow, which is fair enough. This keeps Fractal in our hand, which was the thing that initially was going to pitch, and that becomes now Tri-Brigade follow-up, which is great. So yeah, banish 2, DDL, go for the Robin, and then we have access to Wagtail right here. So yeah, this is extremely solid. We have, again, Oath Alive with very, very good follow-ups here, and Droll if we do manage to somehow get our board entirely cleared, which is not out of the realm of possibility, but something that we should be taking note of. So here we go. This is, I believe, number 16. I think this is the one that I take back like 3 or 4 times. So also DB was lagging simultaneously, so that did not help. So yeah, here I'm trying to really prioritize Oath. And so I'm just going to go and walk through this. So my initial thought process is, okay, we pitch Nib, so we can keep an extra engine card in hand that we can use later, so we can save ourselves a search. Obviously, it's like it's less good if we get hand trapped or if our board gets broken, but for the purposes of like simulating if we can actually end an Oath to begin with, this is like my first kind of step right here. I think, okay, so yeah, we search for Wagtail. I was debating on searching Warbler because you can like trigger it off the Bird Call right here. You can summon another one from hand, but you could also just save the Warbler and search that off, or summon that off of the Sapphire Swallow. You can also go for Nerval here. I'm just trying to figure out the best order of operations. So we go for a Swallow, and we special off the Wagtail, which seems a little bit redundant because we're already going through Bird Call. But because we get access to our recital here, it's just more follow-up. We're just doing this in a bit of a different order. So yeah, here we go for Nerval, and then we're going to go and Sapphire for Nerval. And then, yeah, here's where I'm realizing, like, oh, when the Nerval was on the field, I had only 1 Tri-Beast in Grave. I could have had 2 if I started off by pitching Barrel Canary, and that's something that I kind of like keep in the back of my mind as I'm like doing this test hand. So yeah, here again, like I mentioned, we can just like save the Warbler for later. This could even be used for a Farigate play, which is pretty good. So yeah, we grab Kit off of the Nerval. We're gonna go for Draco Future, and here's I'm like, okay, if we pitch Canary for the 1-for-1, we actually would have had fodder for Nerval that was on the field, and we can banish 2 for Farigate and do the same play. which is a kit into Shirai. But there is a problem with that. So yeah, here I backtrack a bit here. So if this is confusing, feel free to skip ahead, because this I definitely did a little bit on the more messy side. But I was just trying to play around with and see, again, the optimality of resources. So backing up to this point, assuming we still have the nib in hand, we pitch the canary initially for the 1-for-1. We go for the Farid, and then we overlay these into this recital. This kit should not be in our hand right now, but I realized that afterward. Yeah, this kit is the one that we grab right here. Yeah. And also, I guess there's another thing to point out is, like, I'm also still learning new things. I'm by no means, like, a complete master. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'm a master of this deck. But I'm still learning, and I think that there's, like, a lot of things that you can take away from just trying to route things very specifically. Because here, again, I am trying to prioritize Oath. Because, like, you can do this a lot with a lot less hassle if you just weren't fussed about Oath and want to just do, like, a more game 1 type of hand. Because then you don't have to worry about, like, going for, what's it called, Keros, which is, like, an extra step in the combo. Okay, here I'm saying the line was initially better. Well, I think this is fine here because... So I think the reason I'm saying this is that... Right, so if I banish 3, go for Rugal, and then turn those into Shirai, I kit send Oath, and I turn these into Simorg, and I Omen send or search Keros. The only thing I can pitch is this Barrow Canary because Bird Call has already been used. And so I can't end on Ensemble Robin. So I think at the end of the day, I figure out that, okay, either I can't end on Simorg or I can't end on Ensemble Robin. I think the choice there is fairly clear if the whole goal is to play around Spell Trap blowouts, right? So we backtrack again, and then I think I realized that there's, like, a lot of things I could have done differently. So this is where we were at previously before I did that whole, like, oh, what if we pitched Canary instead of Nibiru? I know this is extremely confusing, so again, feel free to just skip past this, because this is, like, confusing me right now even. But I'm, like, managing to keep along with this. So yeah, we can, like, go kit banish 4 as well, which gets us access to Keros this way. And I'm like, oh, this is great, because now we have the Spare Warbler, which is what we searched off of the other recital. Because what we would have searched off the recital if we pitched the Canary would be the Canary to just replace it. But here, because we pitched the Nib, we have Canary already, so we just have a spare name to ditch for Keros, was my thinking, but I neglect the fact that how are we going to get into the Simorg after that, right? So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this. Pitch Oath, search Keros. And, like, yeah, Warbler is not the best ad here, but that's kind of just besides the point. That's, like, a really small thing right here. I say I'm not going to go back a third time, but I eventually do. So, yeah, we go for DDL, and here's what I'm realizing. Like, wait, how am I actually getting to the Simorg right here? And I'm like, oh, gosh, I just, like, messed this up again. So, yeah, we backtrack for a third time. I know this is, like, extremely... Like, one could call this unprofessional, which is, like, fair enough. But I think it's good to, like, show that, for one, I'm not, like, you know, trying to just, like, cherry pick the best hands or, like, or situations where I just don't mess up. Because, you know, we're all human, we all mess up. So I am not going to claim to, like, be impervious to mistakes. I'm making plenty of them right here. So, yeah, we back up here to the point where we had, I believe it was Keros, Barrow Canary. And then I think we just pitched the Canary off of the Keros to summon itself, and then we Farid it to special summon out Warbler, and then we're going to turn these two into the Simorg. So it's like, okay, I think I would rather not have Robin on the field, which kind of is unfortunate, but if we're able to end on Apex Avion, that's fine as well. Because that's pretty mission critical if we're trying to set up Oath, because the whole goal, again, is to beat Spell Trap blowouts. So not ending on Robin is unfortunate, but I think that, like, it's fine. Again, you could just choose to even not end on Simorg, which sounds a little weird, but still does enable the Oath to be live, just at potentially the cost of just, like, having the ability to negate, like, multiple threats with Apex Avion. Apex Avion and Oath together, I should say. Okay, yeah, so that was a very, very messy exercise, but I think it was very beneficial. Yeah, we're not cutting this from the video. It's because, again, it's very important that, like, these are things that you need to be thinking of. So yeah, like, you could just kind of fumble through a play and then, like, end on the first thing that you come across. But, like, it's important to be like, well, is this actually the best thing that you can be doing? And if the answer is no, then I think it's a worthy exercise to just go back and like see what you could be doing better instead of just like hitting the reset deck button and just like saying, let's just like disregard this and go for a new play. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that alone made this video a lot longer by itself. Holy guacamole, this is already 40 or 54 minutes. I did not realize this. I was talking for this long. Okay, let's actually just speed up these combos now. So we open a very try-heavy hand, but that's fine because we can still actually get to our birds because we can get to our fractal, and getting a fractal is pretty instrumental in getting there. So we're just going to dump whatever name that we don't need because obviously we're just going to go for Omen here, and then we're just going to link these off for Farid, and we have access to pretty much everything that we could want. Having this Nerval hard drawn, even though we already went through this search, is nice because we have an extra body to enable Sapphire Swallow, which is great. But we can go for our Wagtail here if we want to because we haven't normal summoned yet either. So we can still reserve that for our special off of the Sapphire Swallow. We haven't used the on-field effect of Nerval yet, so we can banish 2 for the DDL, and we can just start going into recitals here. So even with the 3 Tri-Brigades, we're able to just fully go into the bird combo. Here we go for a bird call, and then we can overlay for another recital, and then this can grab ourselves Warbler because we didn't start off with it, so we still have access to using its effect via this bird call, which can grab us a Canary as well. We can go for UDF, we're going to go for a bird call into Barrow Canary, and then we can special off the Warbler, and then off the Warbler we can bring back the Sapphire Swallow. We can turn these into the Simorg, and we can go for Barrow Canary, and then bring back another monster. We also forgot Farid, but didn't end up mattering here. Yeah, so we can go for Robin, and the only downside of this is that we weren't able to actually end an Oath in the graveyard, which was kind of the point of like this latter half of the video, but we had to use Kit, right, for the Nerval initially, so I think it was okay. Like we could have pitched the Nerval initial that we had in our hand, which is I guess fine, and there was potentially a way that we could have made it work if we just rerouted slightly. Well, actually no, because we needed the level 1 in order to go into a recital to begin with, so I think this was actually okay. So yeah, we can go for our Apex Avian. Like this is still fine. Like this is still a reasonable board, even post side. So yeah, we have I think 3 more to go through. So again, we're just gonna like try and just hurry up with this. Imagine if I initially did the 100 test hands like I was going to be doing. This would have actually just been an eternity, and I wasn't gonna sit here at my desk for like 4 hours because I'm doing this all in one take. If you couldn't tell. So. Yeah, here is a nice, simple Warbler plus Fractal hand, and we have 1-for-1 as backup, which is great. We don't even need to use the 1-for-1 here. We can just simply go into our combo. So you can kind of keep along with this. We have Recital to search for our Bird Call, which we're going to promptly use because we already had our Sparrow access, and then we can go search Canary since we're 1 search ahead. Always nice. And then we can go and summon out these 2 with these Sapphire effects, and we start off with Fractal. And so because we start with Fractal, we could have done what I was doing before, which is just, link for Farid, and then do like the whole kit for Rugal into Shurike play. But I wanted to like do something different just to mess around again. So like say we don't use Nerval here, we're just gonna go and resolve our recital, grabbing ourselves kind of just a bonus search here, and then we're gonna go for a kit. And then here we can go for UDF, and then we can normal summon our kit. And then here we're gonna go and just banish 4 for Shurike. This is I think a lot more fluid in certain ways, just because like you have the extra body to not concern yourself with the Simorg materials anyways. So you can resolve the Omen, you can resolve the kit, and then you can go for a Karos, and you can even like special off the Karos from this Baron Blossom, which I think I do here. Yeah, I do. Excellent. So yeah, this makes it so you can keep the DD Crow, or if you weren't ahead by 1 search, like say like again you just didn't open, like you only opened the Warbler plus Fractal, you could just keep the Canary, which is nice, and then you have like an extra, like say, defensive card. So yeah, going into the Simorg, again, this is nice. You don't have to like burn through Rugal either, so I would probably recommend going for this. This is kind of just like more general line of thinking. Again, somehow I just keep forgetting Farid, but it's not gonna matter a whole ton here. And then we're gonna just go for Canary into our good old Robin, and then pass on the Apex Avian. Again, didn't even need 1-for-1. That's just like a follow-up at this point. And so, yeah. We got Oath, and we have 2 hand traps, which is pretty solid. Going on into number 19. Oh boy. All right, we are almost at the end, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so here we have again another hand that doesn't have like a lot of like birds hard drawn, but we have a lot of access to them. And the hard drawing oath is interesting because you can't use both of the effects in the same turn. And so if you want to make it live, you do have to put it back with Farid and then send it with Kit later. But if you've been noticing, a lot of the times we usually Kit and then we Farid afterward. Not always, but like that's a lot of what we do. And also this hand's kind of not the like most standard. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is another hand where we do some backtracking. So brace yourself for that. So initially the play is to 1-for-1, pitch Fractal, summon out Sparrow, search Nerval. Then we go Foolish Burial to send Nerval to add Kit. And then I'm like, this doesn't feel right at all because now we have conflicting and competing normal summons in a hand where we're not going to actually even be able to get to Farid profitably. Or if we do, we have to like sacrifice UDF and that just doesn't feel right. So yeah, I'm like, that's definitely not right. So we're just going to hold the Foolish. That's like kind of phase 2. And then I realized, yeah, we don't have anything to like enable something like a Sapphire Swallow. So yeah, we're just gonna rewind all the way back to the beginning. So we're gonna start off with this Fractal effect, straight up. So we're gonna pitch Nerval to add Kit. And then we're just gonna go and Kit right here. We're gonna banish for the Farid. And then we're gonna 1-for-1 pitch Nibiru. And then we're gonna go for Cobalt Sparrow, which gives us another bird so we can turn on our, not turn on, but like we could access our Farid effect right here. That makes sense. So Farid to summon out the Wagtail, we get our Bird Call, and now we can go for like more standard Lyrilusc lines, which is like going for the Recital Starling into Bird Call, which gets us Sapphire Swallow. I could have done this the other way easily, but this makes it so that we can get a bit more mileage out of the Bird Call because we didn't have like another hard draw level 1 to just summon off Sapphire Swallow, so this is a little bit more efficient. Granted, again, it makes it so that we have to activate Sapphire Swallow before going to Draco Future, which I'm pretty sure I forget again here, but yeah. We get Nerval off of this second copy of Recital. Yeah, I'm like, why am I doing this? I just keep brain farting for some reason. I promise I don't actually do this in game, but in test hands, for some reason, I do this because I'm just like, you know, I'm just kind of trying to look at other factors and like the obvious sometimes. But yeah, here we made Draco Future. We have the ability to go straight up into our Shrai because the missing piece is the Keras. And now we get to trigger the Baron Blossom and the Kit in the same chain. So we can go Kit Chainlink 1, and then we can go Farid Chainlink 2. Oh yeah, I made another note here where it was like we had a way to make Harping Conductor like be useful in the combo because being a winged beast is helpful for enabling again like Simorg plays. But also, yeah, Foolish not being another name kind of like hurts due to things like being able to pitch for 1-for-1 or Keras. But that's not like saying Foolish is a bad card or anything. It just makes it a little bit different in this combo. But yeah, because we get to resolve things the way that we want to, we can Farid Chainlink 2 to put it back, and then we can Kit. DB was disconnecting again. And then, yeah, so that like took a couple minutes. So yeah, we didn't resolve Nerval yet. And so we can go and summon out Farid. And then we can link all those off into Simorg. And then we can go ahead and add ourselves Keras. We didn't have to link away this copy of Nerval, technically. Yeah, we didn't have to do that. Yeah, we probably should have just kept that in field, actually, kind of thinking about it in hindsight. Yeah, because that's a good send for DDL. Yeah, so we should just kept that other Nerval in the field. And then we get our access to Simorg. So even through that, we still managed to end an Oath here. So yeah, that was like not the cleanest, but it did get to Oath. And this is another scenario where it's like, I'm pretty sure I didn't play that optimally either. So that's another like point of interest to where if you guys want to comment on a better way to do that, then feel free because there's a lot of like different variations. This hand is like not great, but I mean, it's just kind of like going into the oh, actually, did I do this combo wrong? Hang on a second. I might have just done this combo completely wrong. Let's see. So like an option I had there was obviously Keras pitch Nerval to go and banish for Omen, and then we go for Farid. But what do we do from there? We go search Sparrow, special it off, and then we grab the Bird Call, and then we can end on Simorgh plus Robin, but that doesn't like really do a whole ton in the way of like ending on Oath. So let's see if this line's better. So we normal summon the Nerval, we banish 2 for Farigit. We Farigit to summon out Karas, and then we go for the Simorgh. We resolve the Farigit to put back the Oath, and then this is like not the best bird name, but it's okay. So I guess we just forego the birds completely in this combo, and then we end on this. I think that's reasonable enough. We had to burn Kit early to go ahead and enable this, but that's fine. So this is still like a decent board. Yeah, so like it's either DDL or Robin with like a bird heavy play, which maybe the bird heavy play is better because like again Robin like can be follow up. But yeah, we have Harpy Featherstorm and we have Imperm as well, which is not too bad. So this is like the second hand I'm pretty sure out of these that didn't end on Oath and Grave. So yeah, again I'm pretty sure it was just 8 out of 10. Yeah, we were lagging a lot, and I just decided to leave before the servers crashed again. So yeah, that was 20 test hands. This video is 1 hour and 5 minutes. I did not expect that going into this, but here we are. I think my brain kind of melted a little bit, both in actually performing these test hands in real time and also kind of just going over them because of how much I backtracked, which doesn't make for maybe like the clearest demonstration, but it goes for like a more effective way to like really test like the limitations of how far like awkward hands can get you, which I think is also again a very important thing to practice when you are playing a pretty combo intensive deck like this one. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up the video here because I don't want this to be longer than it needs to be. So thanks guys for watching. Again, leave 150 likes if you want to see an updated deck list. I will be happy to do that. But until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys.